I'm Doreen. This is James.
Hi.
We are Worldwide Wiggy. We are two empty nester people in our 50s that have made a pact to travel someplace new every year for the rest of our lives now that we have no kids. But we've always traveled before. And because we go to such great destinations, so many people want to know, like, how do you plan for your trips? Or they're like, I would never do that or whatever. And we're here to tell you that you can. You absolutely can. And we want to share our experiences with you. So that's why we started this podcast, to talk about places that we go and the things that we've seen and what we do when we travel, because we don't always like to use a travel agency or a group. We've done that only a few times. It's really not our preferred way of traveling. So this is how we prepare when we're going away for a weekend or on a big trip overseas, and what that all entails.
Right. You can plan your trips yourself if you just take the little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and customize your trip to what you really want to see.
And you can do whatever you want. And it's just amazing what the world has out there for you, and you just have to just do it. So today we're going to talk about New Orleans, because that is where we just got back from, and I wanted to share a couple of things that we do when we travel and how we booked this weekend that we just got back from. So we went to New Orleans just this past week, so that would have been January 15th, 16th, 17th, and we came back the 18th, which is a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The trip was originally built around my daughter going back to school, which is why we were coming back on a Saturday, because we thought we would be spending Sunday, which is today, driving her home. But she got another ride back on her own. We didn't have to do that, but we already had the trip booked, so it's just the way it worked out. Anyway, so I wanted to start off talking about planning this trip. So this was not a trip that was pre-planned months in advance. I literally just decided that I wanted to spend a weekend in New Orleans. Actually, it was right before the January 1st terrorist attack, and I booked it right after Christmas. Number one, because there's a lot of deals that are out there right after Christmas or even before Christmas, as people are trying to get, or travel companies want you to book tickets for trips, for, and they offer really, really great deals because you can give them as gifts or whatever else. But I was able to book this like the week between Christmas and New Year's. I am, and James is also an American Airlines frequent flyer. We have been for years. I also have their credit card. The reason I'm telling you that is because American Airlines, United, a lot of these companies offer miles when you book a credit card and are approved. And it's a great way to earn double miles when you book and pay for your trip on the card. So I always have a ton of miles available, and a lot of times I can either get a great discount or money put, a deposit made where I'm not spending my own money and can get a trip for relatively inexpensively because I'm using the free miles that I've accumulated.
We were hitting the sweet spot between Christmas and before Mardi Gras and before the Super Bowl down in New Orleans. We were hitting that period of time when it's a little more slow down there.
And great deals. Great deals. You're not dealing with, there were still people down there, but it was a great time to go. This is a slower period. It actually falls within 12th night. So if you don't know what 12th night is, 12th night is the night of the Three Kings, and the next day starts the carnival season. So Mardi Gras, carnival season, is actually the day from the night of the Three Kings through Mardi Gras, which is Fat Tuesday, the Tuesday before Lent. So the parades in New Orleans this year don't start until February 1st. If you are interested in going during parade season, do your research ahead of time. The city literally shuts down because everyone there who lives there celebrates and goes to the parades. Mardi Gras is a season where they tell you that the trucks, the UPS trucks, the mail deliveries, it's like a holiday down there. So nothing is getting through. Deliveries aren't being made. It literally shuts down on that day. But there are parades and things that you can attend start well in advance of Mardi Gras. So Mardi Gras this year is March 4th. The parades actually start February 1st. the initial parade for like the locals was actually a couple weeks ago to kind of kick off the season. So you're going to deal with higher prices, a lot of people during the parade season.
You may not even be able to get to the airport on time. Just
Right.
something that when it's time to
Right.
go, if there's a parade blocking your path, your cab may have to take the long way around
Right.
just to get to the airport.
So it's really important if you are going down there during Mardi Gras season to keep that all in mind. Now, this isn't parade season right now. So we were able to get a really great deal through American Airlines where we flew first class from O'Hare Airport to Louis Armstrong Airport in New Orleans. And we got a nonstop flight. And I'll tell you something else. That's something that James and I like to do. We do not really like to puddle jump. So I'll just throw that out there. There are people out there who love to do that, and they get really great deals, and they have 3 or 4 connecting flights to get where they want to go. That's great. I am not that person. And here's what I'm going to tell you. That's okay, because you can get deals on nonstop flights too. And it's whatever your travel preferences are. One stop is typically my limit. You eliminate baggage problems when you have less stops. Unless you're carry on all the way through. I'm most of the time checking a bag. So you eliminate when you're only talking about one stop through, you're eliminating luggage problems. And it's for me, I don't particularly care for flying. I am so much better.
You don't run the risk too of missing a connecting flight, which
Right.
is always a big deal.
That's a big deal.
I mean,
and in
you may
today's
think
flight
that-
world, it happens a lot.
You may think that you have plenty of time at that next airport. All it takes is one airplane mechanic failure, one snowstorm someplace completely elsewhere in the system from where you're going, and the next thing you know, you've missed your connecting flight, and instead of going to New Orleans, you're spending a weekend in Dallas.
Right. And it will screw up your entire day of travel. So one stop is typically my limit. Nonstop is my preferred method, and that's the way I will always search. So
And that's why we fly out of O'Hare mostly.
right, because we're local to our airport here. It's such a puddle jumper. I'll drive the 90 minutes to O'Hare. This time we did something completely different this time. This time we did a Coach USA Coach. So we have a pickup not far from here. So we booked a coach bus, not a transit bus. It was a coach bus that took us from our home, the stop here really close by, to O'Hare with 6 stops in between. It was a 2-hour ride. We got to the airport in plenty of time. It was $60.
More than that, after the fees and everything. But
it was like $150 for round trip for 2 of
Right.
us. So
And-
$150 round trip. So that took us to and from the airport, and then it picked us. We were able to get on the bus at O'Hare when we came back and come back. So $150 round trip. Again, we don't live near O'Hare. It's an 1.5 to 2-hour drive for us. So I thought that was reasonable because that's a car rental.
And the nice part about the bus was it like Doreen said, it wasn't far from our house, just 5 minutes from our house as far as the pickup point was, but it actually stopped at each of the terminals in Chicago. So we could have stopped at any of the terminals, not just Terminal 3, for example, and then have to run back to Terminal 1. The bus would make those stops when dropping you off. And the pickup at the intermodal station to bring us back wasn't that bad. The signs in O'Hare are very clear on how to get to the ground transportation to take the little train to the intermodal, and then from the intermodal, it's bus stalls 5, 6, or 7, and then you're coming back to Wisconsin. It was pretty easy.
Very easy. Very easy. So this was something that we had done brand new for us, rather than relying on someone to drive us or to take a paid car. So we've done a paid car service too, which was pretty pricey, but really nice when you're traveling, some place really nice and you want to spoil yourself, you can always get a private car. We love using Black Lane. Bless, that was my dog. We love using Black Lane. Black Lane is a car service that's available internationally, and they pick you up in a black Mercedes, and it's just a really nice ride. So anyway, so we took the bus down. Anyway, so took the bus down this time, and then I prearranged for a taxi to pick us up at the hotel and take our airport in New Orleans and take us to the hotel and pick us up back. So that was $120 for the round trip for that too. Anyway, but I prearranged all of that ahead of time. I'm not somebody that typically will not plan that. I'm a planner. I need to have the peace of mind that I'm gonna have a ride.
If you run the risk of booking or not booking a rental car until the last minute, you run the risk of them not having your rental car that you had picked when you get there. You run the risk that even if you do book ahead of time a rental car, that they're not going to have the style of rental car that you asked for. We went to Florida once, for example, and when we got out we were carrying a whole bunch of baby stuff with us, and when we got out to the rental car, it turned out to be a Mustang convertible, which I was happy about, but as Doreen pointed out, it would have been completely ridiculous putting the pack and play and the baby in the stroller.
Have an infant with you. I was like, what are you thinking?
So we had to go back and get
now, mind you, my babies are in their 20s now, so this was quite a long time ago, but it was pretty funny.
It was a lesson learned.
Right. So when I started booking this trip, I just, it was very impromptu. It was very spur of the moment. We just needed a weekend away, right? And it was like, I just said, I'm just going to book it and see what's out there. And I just kind of priced it out. So American Airlines has an American Vacations option on their website. And I just decided to price it out. And I was able to get 3 nights and 4 days. A really nice room at the hotel that we usually stay at. So we usually stay on Royal Street in New Orleans in the French Quarter. I do not recommend a hotel on Bourbon Street. There are people that will disagree with me. That is my personal opinion. And the reason for that is because Bourbon Street is very loud. And if that's your thing and you're all about the partying, and I mean, sure, you could have a balcony suite on Bourbon Street, and I'm telling you, they don't stop. And it's just really, really loud. And it's just really nice. Royal Street is very nice. It's 1 block up from Bourbon, 1 block up. And Royal Street is really nice. It has a lot of nice antique shops and musicians that play there. And it's literally, a few blocks away from Jackson Square. And we usually stay at the Wyndham, which is close to the corner of Canal and Royal Street. And it's just really a great, we've always stayed at the Wyndham. There's only one time we did an Airbnb, and we love that too. But the Wyndham had a really nice big room. We were able to get like a premier room. It was like double the size of what we usually get. And first class from O'Hare to, sorry, that's my dog. First class from O'Hare to New Orleans. And it was with travel insurance, which I always recommend you get, $1,600. That is a really great deal. So, I mean, you're going to spend in New Orleans anywhere between, depending on the hotel that you stay at, when you're looking at, $200, $225 a night for a hotel, and then, $500 for first class, that was actually pretty cheap, because first class at American is pretty expensive. So I was really surprised that we were able to get the first class for that price. A typical flight nonstop from Chicago to New Orleans is about $390 to $400. That's typically what it is. We go there all the time. That is an average price. So $1,600 for a weekend, I thought was really great. So I also priced it out in different combinations. I did a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you're leaving on a Sunday and you're going to be there the weekend, you're typically going to pay more money. When I pushed it back and we were leaving on a Saturday, so now we're Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, saved myself a couple $100. So we picked a late flight out on Wednesday. We arrived in the airport at like 11:15 p.m. in the evening, and we left Saturday afternoon at 1:30. So we had 2.5 days in New Orleans to just have fun. So when I priced those out, it was cheaper to do it during the week with a Saturday get home, which really worked out this weekend because New Orleans is cold today and tomorrow, and Tuesday they're expecting several inches of snow, which is uncommon, and that city will probably shut down. When you're talking about that far south with a weather incident like that, they don't have the equipment that us Midwesterners have. So that whole city's going to shut down for days. It's going to take those travelers days to get home. The airport will be shut down. The trolleys probably won't be working. They're supposed to have ice. That's going to make, and ice is problematic no matter where you are. But when you're talking about a city that doesn't know how to handle,
doesn't have big plows that salt the roads behind them.
Right. And they don't have that equipment. It's not like you can buy rock salt. They don't sell it down there. So, right now they're selling king cakes. That's what they're selling.
Powdered sugar.
Yeah, powdered sugar. So anyway, so I booked it, and that's what I plan to do. And then I'm the one, when we travel, I'll just be honest, when we travel, I'm usually the one that books the trip. I'll talk to him about what we want to do, and then I'm the one who does the booking. I'm the one that kind of determines timeline because I'm kind of in charge of his calendar and then what he's taking off of work. I'm self-employed. He's not. So, what he takes off for vacation. And then you always want to know your cancellation policy. The nice thing about American is we booked this really, really soon, and there still was like a 9 or 10 day cancellation policy where I could have canceled it if it wasn't going to work out for us. So you always want to make sure that you have that. Another app that I use to do planning is Expedia. I've been an Expedia customer for a long time. I know some people use Kayak, and this isn't sponsored, by the way, but Kayak, they use a lot of those apps. I just like Expedia. You can do a reserve and pay at the hotel in some cases. They'll do vacations for you. They offer discounts on packages if it's like hotel, flight, and car. You can usually get like a deal through Expedia. Same thing with American through the app. And I like it that they do a pay, like you can reserve now, pay later in some cases. And then they always offer the travel insurance right as the package goes too. You also earn points, so you can get discounts the more you book through Expedia. You get money off of rooms and stuff. That's a great way to save money. So, so we booked the trip. And I just want you guys to know that there's all kinds of ways, I just want you guys to know that there's all kinds of ways to save money when you're planning a trip. So, you do your research ahead of time, price out what you want on multiple apps, go directly to the airlines to see what tickets are going to cost you, sign up for a freaking flyer package. Sometimes they offer discounts. Use the discounted apps or the like Kayak, Expedia to find your flights. You can go through Google. There's a way through Google that you can find really cheap flights that are going on if you've got like a lot of room or time and you don't know what you want to do. You can do like just a random, where could I go quickly for the weekend on Google, and it'll show you like flights that are being offered for really cheap on airlines to fill seats. I just don't travel that way, but that might be something that you want to do. But there's all kinds of ways to go anywhere, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. Okay, so once we had our thing booked, the next piece of that was making sure that we had the transportation to and from the airport and then to and from the airport down in New Orleans. So we went ahead and started looking for alternate ways for, and whenever we travel, it's like, okay, do we want to hire a car? Is there someone who will give us a ride? We have a lot of friends that always say, well, we'll take you to the airport. If our daughter or son is around and they can take us down to Chicago, sometimes we'll use that too. We do have 3 dogs that we have to take care of. So we always try to make sure that there's multiple people home to watch the house while we're gone, and our dogs. Because I don't typically pay for a dog sitter. Anyway, So that was the next step, is making sure that we had to and from taxi and then transportation to and from O'Hare here on this side. So with what we booked, overall, that was about $250 that we spent for bus and taxi services. So you got to budget that into your final budget. If you want to take the chance of trying to get somebody to give you a ride or get a taxi, they have taxis at the airport down in New Orleans. Most airports do. You know, they have them at the taxi stands, and I don't know what it is for the airport in New Orleans is about 30 minutes from the French Quarter, 20 to 30 minutes, depending on traffic. And that taxi cab ride is going to it's going to cost you about $40 or $50. But the taxi services are really nice. The cabbies are great down there.
Just the assurance, peace of mind that you have when you pre-book it, and you have somebody greeting you at the airport, and they tell you exactly where they're going to be and load you up. This time it was a Toyota Sienna that picked us up, and last time we've had the Mercedes pick us up before, and those types of services just give you that peace of mind that you know that how you're going to get to your hotel, especially when you're coming in late at night. That's kind of a hit and miss. Certainly for those of you that have flown into Milwaukee at late at night, you understand that the cab may or may not be there. So you definitely want to have a service that's ready for you to pick you up and to make sure that you get to your hotel okay. Another thing to be concerned about it too is if you're getting in late, that your hotel actually has late hour access. The last thing you want is to be having your nose pressed against the glass and hoping that the night watchman will let you into the hotel.
That's not a real problem in New Orleans because they're used to.
Yeah, they're used to 24-hour
life there. But there are some cities where you go to where that's not the case. So you have to make sure that if you're going to have a late check-in, that they know about it and that you can get in. Because I've seen where some people can't get into their hotel because they just assume that there's 24-hour access. After COVID, I'm just going to say, you got to check because a lot of these places really changed the way that they operate with COVID. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I didn't find that to be the case in New Orleans, but there's other cities where, they don't have anybody there after a certain time just because they don't have the people, and staffing is still a problem.